welcome to another episode of Lincoln to Local. I'm Rachel Havens, and I've got Steve Thompson here with me, who heads up our Public Policy Department. Steve, it seems like this week was a little bit out of the ordinary over at the Capitol. Can you tell us what all happened?
Yeah, we had a number of scheduling challenges. The House of Representatives adjourned for most of Tuesday to attend a funeral. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, with the snowstorm we saw and the ice, they, out of an abundance of caution, canceled session in both the House and Senate. So it really is kind of backed up. They had some heavy agendas that they were trying to get through. So next week may be a bit of a challenge thanks to Mother Nature and some other unexpected events.
Definitely. And this week, or here recently, we did see some movement on the county zoning issues that we've kind of been following for the last couple weeks. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
That's right. As you know, that's been really our top priority so far this session was concerned with a couple of county zoning proposals coming from the Tulsa area. And on Monday in the House County and Municipal Government Committee, they considered one of those measures, and it was defeated by a vote of 4 yes to 6 no. So we were very excited that the committee had the same concerns that we did with that and worked, thankfully, with a large coalition of other ag groups and a couple other industry groups, telecommunications, oil and gas, and state chamber to raise our concerns there. And thankfully, the House saw that and had a bit of caution with that. And then later on the week, they were going to consider the Senate version, but it was obviously delayed. But we've had some very good discussions with the Senate author on that, and we feel like that we're going to be able to work through those concerns, and that issue may get set aside. But still have another week to continue to work and keep those discussions alive. But those were a very concerning precedent that could be set there that could affect all 77 counties and really impact rural Oklahoma negatively. And so we're very excited that once we shared those concerns, they were well received by the lawmakers at the Capitol.
That's great news. Steve, I know last year we helped establish the Royalty Owners Coalition that kind of helps work on some oil and gas issues in our state. And it sounds like there's been some of those issues that emerged, so far this session. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've heard?
Yeah, that's one of the issues that we've always worked a little bit on. We've had some outside help with that, and I think we've taken a little bit larger role with the Royalty Owner Coalition, and it's really helped prepare us for an ongoing discussion with the oil and gas industry about method of payment and something called the Production Revenue Standards Act that governs how proceeds from oil and gas production are distributed, what information has to be provided and what timeline that the mineral owners have to be paid. That's a very important thing to a number of our producers around the state that have the land and have the income that come off that help with the production agriculture operation. And so we're involved in a pretty serious negotiation right now, as with our other members of the coalition. And there's a couple of bills, one in the House and one in the Senate, one of them that we like a little bit better than the other one. But I think that those discussions have been very productive, and we would like to work something out for the benefit of all parties. But it's been a challenge. It's an issue we've talked about for 2 or 3 years and can't quite seem to line up just yet. So that's something that we're going to continue to work on, and we feel like that we may be reaching out to our members to voice their concerns and their issues if that doesn't just work out for the best for everybody.
And I know last year we had several members that kind of voiced their concern on some energy companies that are protesting or opposing some ad valorem legislation. Can you tell us a little bit more, give us some more insight on that?
That's right. That's an issue that has been around for a while whenever folks want to protest their ad valorem bill from the counties. And I know that a number of energy companies, both wind and oil and gas and pipeline, throughout the state have taken to that somewhat as a business practice to protest everything. And some of our folks that are either on local school boards or just involved in their community were concerned about how that had sort of tied up the revenue for an indefinite period of time. And so it's been a very difficult issue, and our members only adopted policy that recommended that we study this issue and keep it as a concern because there wasn't a great solution identified last year. But working with some of our partners in the legislature, we've been able to come up with two ideas that we think have merit that would speed up that process and get a resolution so that the revenue that is owed to the local area, to the school districts, gets handled quicker. So there are two pieces of legislation there that we think are very key to helping that. And so we're excited to be working on that and would be happy to hear any questions from members about that because we know that that's been a key issue on a lot of our folks' mind.
Definitely. And so next week is a big committee deadline over at the Capitol. Can you tell us kind of what that means?
Particularly with some of the work stoppages this last week, it's going to be an incredibly busy week next week. Everything that has to have been passed out of a committee in either the House or the Senate by next Thursday. And so we're going to see some really long agendas. Folks get really tight when it comes to that, because if your particular piece of legislation hasn't got a hearing, you really need for it to get considered. Usually you see some things that are more controversial pop up during this week, but there'll be a little bit of everything. So this could be the busiest week that we've seen so far in 2022.
Definitely. And what are some ways that our Farm Bureau members, other than watching Lincoln to Local, that they can stay on top of what's happening at the Capitol?
Well, we would encourage them to check in with their county offices and their local field rep for the most current up-to-dates, and particularly when it comes to every Friday at noon, we have a Zoom call for members where we run through for about half an hour with updates and do question and answer about what's happened at the Capitol that week and what we see for the future. So we would encourage you to check in with your county office or your district field rep so they can get you information on how to dial into that Zoom call. You can do it on your telephone, you can do it on your computer. There's a number of different ways to access that, and we really enjoy visiting with our members in that capacity.
That's great. Thank you, Steve, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Lincoln to Local.